Welcome back to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB and RBN, the RacinBoys Broadcasting Network. Don't forget we got live coverage of the Donnie Ray Crawford Memorial Race down at Port City this weekend, so we hope that you'll tune in. Joining us now on the show is Kirk, probably one of the good guys when we're talking about NASCAR.
Michael McDowell is joining us here tonight. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Well, we're doing okay, and today a lot of news going down, and gosh, you know, your name comes up when we talk about qualifying. Changes today in qualifying, what'd you think of them?
Yeah, you know, I think that, obviously everybody's trying to get as big of an advantage and create those opportunities to, maximize their performance. And, California, I think, everything got a little bit out of hand. So I think NASCAR did a good job of just putting a few simple things in place to help us kind of self-police ourselves and without changing the format so much. Because, I mean, obviously everybody has their own opinions, but I think group qualifying this year has been exciting and entertaining, and it's kind of mixed things up a little bit. And I know some people like that, some people don't. But, for myself, I think it's, adds some complexity to the qualifying and not so boring as single car qualifying. So I'm glad that they kept the format the same.
It's kind of funny, all this fodder about qualifying started with your little ruckus that you had there, and I think it's been needed. I think this is something that they needed. The only thing I'm worried about on the qualifying is, somebody making the decision, did somebody block somebody during qualifying? It's kind of like, judgment calls, and I'm not the biggest fan of judgment calls, but something had to be done.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think that NASCAR is going to over-police the, holding somebody up, because there's going to be times where, things just happen. I think what they were more referring to is just blatantly blocking somebody from getting out onto the racetrack or just making it a challenge for somebody to get to the line to start a lap. I think that when you go to places like Martinsville or Richmond or Bristol, it's almost inevitable that you're going to have that possibility of somebody being in front of you that might not be as fast as you. But those things I think are kind of not what they're looking for. I think they're more looking for guys not intentionally going to the end of the pit lane and stopping so that people can't get their lap.
Yeah, log jamming the pit road so people can't get out.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, let's talk about some fun stuff, though. Let's go back to Daytona, man. What a great run. I was down there for the race. Man, oh, man, did you have yourself in a position at the end of that to win, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a great weekend for us. Anytime you have a shot to win a race is obviously special, and when it's the Daytona 500, the most prestigious race in the world, obviously it's even that much cooler. And we were in a good spot. We, had worked hard to put ourselves in that, that top five for those last 10 to 15 laps. And, we just kept getting green, white, checkered after the next green, white, checkered, and, caution. And, the last one, we just didn't quite get the push in the lane that we needed to. But it's fun to be in the mix and had a shot at it, and thankful for the opportunity to to even compete for a win at the 500.
Boy, and that momentum carried over. Your qualifying effort at Atlanta and Las Vegas just really stellar. Not the finish that you were hoping for. Was able to get grab some points.
It all started out so smooth and everything was going great.
Right.
Coming off a great finish at Daytona and then go to Atlanta and have a great qualifying, and then we had a part failure in the race, and it has been downhill ever since. I mean, we just struggle after struggle, and some is our own doing, and some is just things out of our control. But 4 out of the 6 weeks have been extremely rough for us, and so we got to get the ball rolling again. We got to get the momentum moving, and pick back up here this weekend and try to get things going the right direction.
Let me ask you, when you're going through a stint like this, when you're having problems, and is there somebody that you lean on? I mean, is it the team that you lean on? Do you go to, somebody in your family, or do you just self-medicate yourself through your own mental being, trying to get yourself better? Just tell us, when you're going through one of these little funks like this, what do you do mentally?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think that, everybody probably handles adversity differently. But for me, I just take it 1 week at a time and try to be a part of the solution and not be a part of the problem. And, just rally the guys together and figure out, what are the things we can control? What are the things we can't control? And let's make sure that we're doing everything we can on the areas that we can improve and we can address. And, from the emotional side, the ups and downs of racing, I've just learned over the years, you just can't let your highs be too high and your lows too low. This sport is week to week, and if you let it, control, your emotions and your being, you're just going to be miserable because there's only one winner and there's 39 losers every week.
Right.
And there's only one team and one driver leaving the racetrack happy every week. And so you just gotta manage those highs and lows and not let yourself get too far down.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Michael, this is Kirk. You're heading back to Texas Motor Speedway this weekend. I just can't help but think about that. It's one of the most frightening crashes I think I've ever seen.
The qualifying flip
11 years ago.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that experience?
That people don't forget.
I'm sorry to have to bring that up. I just can't help it.
No, you won't be the first or the last this week. It's just part of unfortunately, it's part of my story. It's part of what happened, in 2008. Had that big crash, and obviously thankful to walk away, and thankful, a decade later, I'm still in the sport and still racing. And there's obviously things you want to be known for and things you don't want to be known for. And
right.
It's for me, it's just same as what we just talked about. You embrace it. You can't run from it. Can't hide from it. And if you try to, they'll play it on the big Haas screen about 700 times while I'm there this weekend. And you just learn to move on and to just embrace it.
We're visiting with Michael McDowell here on Track Talk. And Michael, let me ask you about the 1.5 mile tracks this year. And seems like everybody's just kind of wide open around there, down on horsepower. They got a lot of spoiler on the back of these cars. Talk about driving these cars compared to when you had all that horsepower, less spoiler, just the difficulties. I know racing's all about momentum, right? We all know that. It doesn't matter what level you're at. You're always wanting to keep the momentum up. But when you take horsepower away, momentum's even more important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, the package this year has changed significantly. It's the biggest change that I've seen since I've been in the sport. And, that's even including going from, what's now our normal but car tomorrow, from the old car to, no downforce to lots of downforce. Mm-hmm. And, I think the biggest change this year, obviously, is the reduction in power. And I think that, the thing that I learned the most is, regardless of how much power you have and how much downforce, you still get to the limit of the car. And when you get to the limit, it's challenging. And so when we had no downforce, it was challenging. And now that we have a ton, it's challenging. And even with the lower horsepower, we're still getting to a point, with our cars and in the race where you're still having to lift and you're having to pick the right line and you're balancing the car, and you're right at the edge and the limit. And so as much as it's different, after a few races, you still get to the point where you're at the very limit and you're trying to get the most out of it, and it's the same for everybody. And, I think that there's been teams that have hit the package obviously better than others. And even for us, we feel like we got a lot of speed. We can qualify really well, but haven't been able to translate that into performance in the race. And so, we came back from the West Coast and looked at how we were building cars and what we were doing and the approach we're taking, and you got to make adjustments and you got to figure out how to be better. And at the end of the day, it's still racing, and everybody's trying to make improvements, and drivers included.
I know it's Texas Motor Speedway this weekend, but I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our home track, Kansas Speedway. Your thoughts about this track around here?
Yeah, Kansas is it's been a lot of fun the last few years. Obviously after the repave, it was pretty treacherous and a challenge. But the last few years, it's been a lot of fun to race, and seen a lot of three wide racing, and you could move around. And more than anything is just the ability to be side by side, and that's really what drivers want. Just want the ability to pass and the ability to be side by side. And I think this new package at Kansas is going to put on a great show. And I think that this weekend coming up in Texas, it'll be a unique challenge again for all the teams. But at least now we have Atlanta, we have Vegas, we have California to kind of build off of and have a little bit of a notebook. And I think this weekend will be the first weekend where you really know where you stack up now that everybody's had some time to work on their cars and figure out a little bit different approach.
Yeah. Well, Michael, thanks for taking the time with us here on Track Talk. We so appreciate it. Good luck to you this weekend. I know you're going to do better than what you did 11 years ago. I'm just certain of that. All right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, buddy.
Live that down. So,
yeah. All right, bud.
I definitely am not going to try to top it.
That's right. All right, buddy. Thanks so
Michael.
much. Have a safe weekend.
Thank you, guys.
All right. There you have it. Michael McDowell joining us here on Track Talk.